Hey everybody! It was so cool to speak with my I should say friend Rini Hartman from the ayahuasca world. I drank many cups of ayahuasca with him, and I had a sit down, and it was really cool. I hope you enjoy learning from his wisdom, his decades of experience. Unfortunately, there were some glitches in the recording where they didn't quite sync up, so I made some edits, and that kind of resulted in several slightly awkward dialogue transitions. I hope you can bear with me. I think the conversation was really worth salvaging, so I did my best with all my not quite professional editing skills. So here I give you Rini Hartman. So I know you, of course. I feel I know you. I probably don't know you as well as some other people, but you've been kind of in my life for a long time, right? So I drank ayahuasca with you in, I think, 2015, 2016, that period, maybe 2017. And so I've been doing this podcast, and I think I know all these cool people. And I thought, oh, Rini, I will reach out to Rini. And so here we are. So I'm super happy, and I understood this is your first podcast. So yeah, a very warm welcome. But without me introducing you, how would you introduce yourself?
I didn't expect that question. How I introduce myself, mostly I'm a creative facilitator. I don't consider myself or don't call myself a shaman. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just someone who's pretty experienced for 20 years of guiding or facilitating workshops, ceremonies with ayahuasca. And I drank myself for 30 years, and in the beginning, I started drinking on many different settings. So that gave me also a picture of how others do ceremonies or how others drink. So I have a pretty good view of the ayahuasca field. I'm also initiated in the Bwiti tradition in Gabon. I went to Gabon. I did the Iboga Bwiti initiation. So ceremony-wise and this psychedelic-wise, I also work with a lot of psychedelics, not in ceremony to serve ceremony, but to experience myself. I consider myself pretty experienced, let's say this. And I'm a father of 5 children. That's also something that asks a lot from me. What I often say and that's true. Some people consider it as a joke in the ceremony, but I often say 40 people on ayahuasca are for me easier to handle than my 5 children at home. And that's definitely sometimes come out of a workshop, and we have a fantastic team, so everything went so fluid. And then I come home with my 5 children, and there is this going on and that going on, and I feel more stress than I felt in the 3 days on ceremony with 40 people on ayahuasca. I don't know if that's really an answer to your question, but that is, that's more or less how I would present myself related to the work of ayahuasca. I feel really committed to ayahuasca. Some people suggested or invited, why you don't work with truffles or with mushrooms or whatever. And that feels like, it would feel like almost like cheating. No, it's ayahuasca. I'm really committed to ayahuasca. That's really also to the tradition where I came from. So I'm still involved in the Santo Daime tradition from Brazil. We have still good connections with the people from the Santo Daime. So no, ayahuasca is really my thing. Even if I love also Iboga, I did this. It's really something also, but it's not something I would commit my life, myself to. That's ayahuasca is really, it's so special. It's so special for me. And maybe I can add a little bit about the special. That's how I consider it so special. It's the social aspect of ayahuasca. It's paramount for me. So I sometimes come to the psychedelic conferences, and people speak a lot about psychedelics and all these developments and all the therapeutic options. And I got kind of, I don't, yeah, it's not something that put me on. And then there was one talk was about ayahuasca, and I went there, of course, and I sat there, and the guy started talking about ayahuasca. It was André van der Braak, um, and he started, and I directly I could tune in. Yes, that's why I love ayahuasca, because this context, this ceremony. There's a whole universe of ayahuasca in the world. Of course, mostly in South America. No, this social aspect, this togetherness, this depth, yeah, that makes me really in love with ayahuasca.
That's really beautiful. And you have said already so many that I have questions about. The communal aspect is almost my main question, but I want to save it a little bit for later, and maybe to meet you even maybe a little bit deeper. I would love to know, how did you come into this work?
Yeah.
30 years already, so that's maybe, what is that?
Yes, 1996 was my first ayahuasca ceremony. And what happened was, actually I had a life that I considered, most people would consider it problematic, but I didn't consider it that problematic. And then there was a moment that I got interested in magic mushrooms, and I was very against any kind of drugs, because in my youth I saw people in heroin and cocaine and speed, and I never touched these because I saw what it did with them. So I was, that's not my thing. Please stay out of this. But then a friend who was even more against drugs. He shared with me at a certain moment his experience with magic mushrooms, and then, when even he is positive about this, maybe there's something in. So I did an experienced myself with the mushrooms, and it was in a kind of flabbergasting shocking. So it was quite strong, and I got a bird's eye view of my life. It was really confronting. Really confronting. That, yes, I was messing up my life. I was doing things quite, not really well, and it was very, very confronting. So I came out of this in a way of, wow, what is this? And I had to admit, the experience, what I saw there was true. So I could look to my life with different eyes. So, and of course, things didn't change in one night, but it was the start of a very significant change in my life. I start studying again, and I got a proper job, started there, and it was really life-changing. What came after that, the experience was the seed for really life-changing. But then of course, I also started to get interested in the psychedelic part of this thing. So there was a book, and it is called Out of Your Ball, Out of Your Mind, probably is the translation. And there was all kind of drugs were mentioned in this book. And what I really made me trust this book, they were really honest about heroin. Please don't touch this. There's also cocaine. Oh, that's not interesting. It was exactly how I felt about this. Mushrooms, yes, they're little teachers, so you can really learn something about this. Ayahuasca, that is really a big teacher, but you have this vomiting aspect, and it goes really deep, but wow, this sounds interesting. But vomiting, maybe not, maybe not so appealing to me. But my interest started, so that I slowly asked around, and I got some contacts from options where you could drink it. Some options about the church, the Santo Daime church, but I was not really. The vomiting part was still a bit, holding me back. And then I started a new job, and there was the manager in the job interview. In a way, I don't exactly how it happened, but we started to talk about psychedelics. And then he shared that he drank ayahuasca and that he drank almost every week ayahuasca. And I thought, well, this guy should be crazy. Every week what I read about this. No, he said, no, that's not such a thing. But he was not really try to convince me or that I should drink or whatever. No, and he was also not from opening. Okay, if you want, come. No, he was really a bit. He shared it, but he was also holding back in a way. And probably after 6 months, and now and then we had some short exchange about this. And in 6 months, he told me he trusted me, and he said, "Yeah, I see how you're a serious person, and also saw him. I really admired him. How he was a really smart guy, really dedicated. It was a foundation where we worked with jobless people and learned them internet skills and computer skills. And it was a smart guy, and he was not something what I thought hippie out of his mind hippie like this. Sorry, I don't want to blame the hippies, but sometimes you feel this people are not really grounded. I don't talk about hippies are not really grounded, but you know, maybe you know what I mean. Maybe we should cut this part about this. So he seemed a really grounded, smart person to me. And he the same was he how he saw me, how he considered me. So at one day he said, "Okay, if you like, in 2 weeks I go to an ayahuasca ceremony in Amsterdam. Actually, it's not really ayahuasca; it's Ayahuasca. And if you like to join, feel free." And so that sounds interesting. So I joined, and it was with a woman, was called Yatra, and she started her own group with Jurema and Pekenham Harmela, and they called it Juremahuasca. Some people called it an ayahuasca analog, but I know Yatra was really against this ayahuasca analog. No, it's Juremahuasca. It's really something else. But I was in that ceremony, and it was a quite interesting experience. And I was at a certain, it's maybe too long to talk about this experience, but it really started to make me interested in ayahuasca. And then in more about this kind of work. And then he shared also with me a contact. He experienced that I behaved pretty well. And then he said, "Okay, now I can share you the contact where I drink all the time." And it was in the Santo Daime tradition. Mm. So he gave his contact. I went to a Santo Daime introduction evening where they only smoked the marijuana, they call it Santa Maria, but you only call it Santa Maria when you smoke it in ceremony. When you're outside ceremony, it's not appropriate to call it Santa Maria. Some people do, but then it's just marijuana. So it's kind of to protect this sacredness of this herb. And that makes me really critical, and I really didn't like it at all. And I wanted to drink ayahuasca. And in the Santo Daime, they call it Santo Daime. Daime or Santo Daime, not ayahuasca. So shortly after that, I was allowed to go ahead. It was my introduction for me, but also for them. I was allowed to go to participate in the Daime ceremony, Santo Daime ceremony. And in a way, it's very interesting, but I also, in a way, I really disliked it. Because the Santo Daime is really about sitting on your chair where you can to sing and stand up when they stand up. And whatever, if you lay on your mattress, not too long, because they ask you to come back to sit in the circle again. So it had quite some resistance, and also Jesus, Maria, and all the religious Catholic things are there, among other things like Umbanda entities, whatever. But that was really there. So my critical mind was full on. And as soon as I remember, as soon as the ceremony finished, I was out. And I also was afraid it's a kind of sect kind of thing. But I kept coming back, although I really disliked the ceremony itself. Afterwards, I felt so great, and it was so nourishing for me. And it was very close to my house. It was literally 2 minutes walk. Surprisingly, and I know there were people that were for hours in the car to come there. So I've considered myself really lucky. And I really like the people also. I start, in a way, I start connecting with the people. There were two things that I really, at least one thing that I really was sharp on, to observe the people who are there. Are these grounded, serious people? So if I noticed there were people that are, I don't know, just making a mess of their life, I wouldn't trust it. So I start trusting it, because there were people just like normal people, and smart people, or people who are teaching at universities, and all kinds of people. Of course, there were some people that you consider, not sure if this is a good thing for you, but overall, I had a really decent picture, of these people. So I trusted it more and more. What I also start trusting the daimi, the ayahuasca, that there was once I had quite some work on my plate, and there was a ceremony. And so instead of doing my work, I went to ceremony, because that gives me a better feeling at the end. I thought. So I was in the ceremony, and as soon as the ayahuasca, the daimi, starts working, I got really dismissed. What are you doing here? You should be doing your stuff at home. And actually, that felt so. At the moment it was confronting, but afterwards it felt so relieved and safe, that there was this protection in the daimi, in the ayahuasca, that no, it's you take care of your stuff first before you come here so, and that was really gave me trust. Also, that how you say, the experience I had in the group and the people was not sectaric at all. There was not they were not pulling on me, not pushing, not forcing. There was a lot of freedom. But you have to, of course, in the ceremony, you have to adopt to the ceremonial rules. But for the rest, there was not. So that I start really trusting it. Of course, there were more groups doing ayahuasca that was popping up a little bit there, and there were shamans that were invited from South America, and there were other groups doing it in their way. So I visit also these groups, and later on also in many countries over the world. So I saw also a lot, and the shamanic way, it's in a way, it has its charm, but after 5-6 times, I really got bored about this way of working. As soon as the ayahuasca really is strong and works, there's this interesting part, but as soon as it fades out, it feels like sitting out. And in the Santo Daime, it's you co-create, you keep co-creating, and you have so many different ceremonies. So the other experiments faded out. So, and the Santo Daime I kept coming, and I think after 1 year, I really felt blended in the Santo Daime. Until then, I was still my critical mind, and at a certain moment, I also learned from this how you say this these limits and these things are more in my mind than around me. When I really can accept, okay, this is the ceremony, and take it or leave it. So tell to myself, then it became much easier, and also start participating in the singing, and then I became slowly more and more a part of this movement. And I did less experiments somewhere else in other ceremonies. And that is a bit I grew in the ayahuasca, in the Santo Daime. There's a lot of follow up on this story, but I think I will now give you the space to maybe you have some questions already about this part.
Yeah, thank you. Well, what I really liked, or what piqued my interest, you said that maybe it's too long to go into the experience, but maybe I'll ask a different question. So you've drank ayahuasca for 30 years, or facilitated groups for 20 years. I guess it is kind of interesting to know if you could choose one experience that was kind of, okay, this was the big one for me. Is there any such experience like, oh yeah, that was the big one? Could you drag anything out your memory and share it?
No, one of the first ones that came in my mind. I don't know if I will consider it a big one, but what I can consider. I share a few things. In my first Ayahuasca ceremony, the first ceremony, I drank an ayahuasca kind of thing. I was I became very, very, very uncomfortable in my body, and I start moving around. I start walking, and at a certain moment, I ended in the toilet. And I ended up vomiting. I was really resistant to this vomiting, but it came. I couldn't stop it. And as soon as it was out, I felt so wonderful, so amazed, so beautiful. I looked to the sky, and it was wow. It was really, really wow. And then I came out of the toilet, and then there were in the lobby there were two people were sitting there, and I start sitting there, and I joined them, and I sit there, and they ask me, "Oh, how is it?" And yes, I feel quite wow. I love to be to be in this high space. And you say, high space? No, no, no. I love to be in the deep, dark space. And no, I look to them, no, give me the high. And then they look to me, oh, you should take another cup. And then I thought, what? These guys are, oh, I felt really, this was a kind of creepy thing for me. So I left them there. I thought, oh no, these are kind of masochist or whatever. So I went to the hall again. But that stayed for me for really a long time. That, oh, you should take another cup. So this is one thing that really stays with me. Another thing, it's also not a high; it's a depth. I was I was in my study psychology, and then we had a college about psychiatric diseases. So, and then I think the same evening or the next day we had a Santo Daime ceremony, and by accident we couldn't have the ceremony in the place where we also always have to do it, but then we have to move to a house. We did it in a house and at a certain moment I really felt uncomfortable and I really need to lay down somewhere. But the space was limited, and there were all the places where you could lay down were occupied. So I was wandering around in the house And at a certain moment, I ended somewhere near a toilet in another, another area of the house. And I felt horrible, really horrible. And I also, it felt, and then all the psychiatric diseases I had in my college came around that I had them all at the same time. So that was a kind of really shocking, traumatic experience in that work. And that made me really distrusted I didn't know if I could trust the daimi, the ayahuasca, ever again. But I came out at it very good, and I had the day after I asked my friend who introduced me in the Santo Daime to have a talk with him. Now we had a really really good talk about this, and that in his experience and how he viewed for many people that a lot of people have this kind of things in them as part of themselves, and what ayahuasca often can do is to bring this out. And I could really relate to this. So I was still, of course, still a bit recovering, and I think I skipped one or two ceremonies then. But so that was a kind of it was not a big high experience, but was a deep experience that made me even more related or more trusting the ayahuasca in a way. So, and for the rest, almost every ceremony is this kind of wow, wow. For experience, I was recently, was a friend of me, we started more or less the same time, and we became friends along the years, and we were in a ceremony together again, 30 years, and after the ceremony, he told me, Rini, even after 30 years drinking, it's still every time, wow. Yes, it is. And that's so magic. That's so magic. And it's not only the inner experience, but it is a big part of this community, this friends, or this togetherness. You do things together, and you create a bond together. That was what we often say in ceremonies. There are two ceremonies, two processes at the same time. This one is this inner process, but the other is this outer process, what you have in the group, and it's difficult to name. For me, it's always I don't know what's more significant for your process, this inner work or this work in the group. I sincerely don't know what's more significant. It's both. Is 1 + 1 is 3. So not sure if I really answer your question, but for most ceremonies it counts. It's always kind of wow, wow.
Actually, I don't remember the question. I was just
Okay,
listening.
yeah.
That's a
If there
good
was
sign.
you asked if there was one big
Yeah.
thing. No, everything is one big thing actually.
Oh yeah.
And I can
Yeah.
I remember also one thing also that was the first time I went to Brazil. And that's also something that everything where you come, in where you meet people of this tradition and where they formed a group or a church or a community, you so warm welcomed, and it's like, it's the same. The ceremony is more or less the same as at home, so you feel. The other side of the world, also been in ceremonies in Hawaii and many places in Europe also. You arrive there as soon as you're in this community, you really feel home. Although there are some difference in the ceremony, but I was there, and it was with in the community of the woman who initiated me in the Santo Daime, was Baixinha, and they had a fichio, and a fichio is the ceremony where they make the daime. And it's a whole ceremony in itself. It was a really special place in a valley in the mountains. It's wow. It's a very magic place, and they have these big pots, and they have you have the harbor that you have to collect the wood from the forest, and then cut the wood, and there's wood for the fires, and the pots are, I think, about 100-liter pots, and the 5 or 6 pots in a row, and they have the leaves. The woman picked the leaves from the bushes, and the man, the vine come from the Amazon forest, and the man cut the vine and beat the vine. And we do this in a ceremony that we sit 6 men in a row, and in the other side also 6 men, and with a very big wooden hammer, and each at the same rhythm, boof, boof, boof. And it's a very heavy hammer. So in the beginning, this hammer is you have to pull it up, but after a certain, you drink also the fresh daimi that was made there. Of course, first you start with the old daimi, but as soon as the fresh daimi is there, you start drinking the fresh. And then at a certain point, you just have to pull the hammer from the air because it goes like this. At least you experience it like this, huh? And it's not a floating hammer. But I was there, and in between this called the batisao, this ceremony, to beat the vine, so they are prepared to go in the pans to cook it, to extract the daimi from it. And in between, I was sitting in this valley. There was a stream, and there was the sun, and I really, also with the experience I had in the weeks before, to meet the people, do the ceremonies there, I really felt my life became a fairy tale. It's really a fairy tale. It was so magic, so magic. So this is really one big moment. I felt so lucky, and at the same time, how you say, if you ask me my deepest lows, how you feel the most how you say, desperate, dark moments are also in the daimi. And also my highest highs are also in the daimi. So I have this, of course, after a certain time, you learn to become more modest, and it doesn't need to be always like this deep thing. But I had experienced my moments there that I really didn't knew if who I was, and if I ever would survive or come out of this, and felt my complete life fell apart, and nothing was left. But as soon as you come out, you oh yeah. Not sure if that's also an answer to you, but yeah, and yeah, to land there and be at new places and with new groups, and there's so much magic in this whole ayahuasca universe, especially the Santo Daime universe. I'm not really connected to the Peruvian. I've never been in Peru. I never drank in Peru. I have met shamans from Peru. I drank with them. I drank with shamans from Ecuador, from Colombia, with different shamans. It's not my work, but of course I really respect how they do it. Maybe I will explore whenever, I'm not sure. But I really like to work. Like this, the Satadami work, I'm not really involved anymore. I'm partly involved at the moment. We grow it, but the co-creation. I really love works with co-creation. And that is also the workshop style work we developed together with Norberto from the teachings of Bashinya. There's really some influences of the Santo Daime, but it's a really different work, and it's way maybe less co-creating as the Daime, but we do it together. So, and for me, is that much more meaningful than just lay back and just let the shaman do his work or her work, and no, that's not. I don't like this kind of work for so much. So, but I know a lot of people. For a lot of people, it's their work. So one time someone came to me, oh, yeah, you do work on daytime. Yeah, I don't like this so much. You should drink ayahuasca in the night. Yeah, I know from many traditions they drink in the night, but we experience that when we drink in the night, a lot of people have the life on daytime, and as soon as you ayahuasca can already have a bit of destabilizing effect on someone, and if you also switch their normal rhythm, it's double. So it's for the ceremony, for the workshop, it's harder, and it's also harder for integration. So what we learned, okay, if we keep this daytime rhythm, and people sleep normally at night as most people live their life, then it's much easier to handle. And also people were, oh, you don't have a fire in the middle. No, yeah, sorry, we don't have a fire in the middle. I've been once in a ceremony when in a teepee when we have a fire in the middle, and I was really questioning how healthy that was. So I come to drink ayahuasca that I think it's a healthy habit to drink, what I believe. But when I breathe in this toxic from this fire in the middle, I really doubt. So we won't have a fire in the middle. We once had that was we had a little ceremony at home, and I bought I bought this garden candle for this big garden candle with this big flame. So we had this in the middle, and we put it in dark, and we drank the ayahuasca. Then, when the ceremony was finished, we put the lights on. We had all dark faces, and we were all a dark cloud on my stuff at home. And oh my God. So, but it's a side story. We made many mistakes.
Yeah. I actually remember really well. I didn't drink as much as many people have in your community. But I also didn't drink that little, but a few ceremonies I did. One of them was where there were also some fires. They were outside. I did go through super difficult time in that ceremony, as with all of them, because I just have a lot of stuff to process, had and still have. And fire did really make me feel safe. And I had a kind of connection with the fire, which I won't go into, but it was a teacher in itself. So I do get why they would put fire in the tradition. Yeah. And yeah, you really did answer my main question. You said that that you're sometimes not sure what is the real or what is kind of the more powerful, the ayahuasca or the community. And I like that this intuition came to me as well. I actually had as preparation for this podcast, I spoke with 3 other people to share experiences, and because I don't want this to become another ayahuasca podcast, so we tried to come up with some deeper questions, and then this one really came for me as this is the thing, it's community. And I got a bit emotional as you were speaking as well from the memories, I think. And when I think about the moment of surfing and then the song that is sung, that's beautiful. It's also, I have it somewhere on my YouTube list. So I really love that. Thank you for that. And I'm wondering where to go next. You mentioned Norberto. I'm guessing that quite a bunch of people who will listen to this know Norberto, and then quite a lot, hopefully, I guess, will not if it's successful in the world. But I guess one question I'd like to ask, if you're willing to answer, is maybe one question is, what would you say is something you learned and carry on from Norberto? So for people who don't know Norberto, maybe you can tell a bit about who Norberto was, and maybe then the question can fit in.
Yeah, Norberto, I met actually as soon as I went to the Santo Daime. Actually, I'm not sure if I met the first ceremony in the Santo Daime, but he was around at that time. He was invited from Brazil to help to grow the church in a musical way, because he was in the church in Brazil. He was the main musician of Baixinha, their church in Brazil. And he was what they say, the holder of the Hinario, the keeper of the Hinario. And the Hinario are the many songs that Bashiya received and put in books. And he was responsible that these songs were sung really well and good, and he was on the guitar guiding her. But Norberto was more than that. He also was very interested in therapeutic approaches. So he did bioenergetic therapy training for 3 or 4 years. He studied this in Europe. He did the osteotherapist training and all kind of therapy training he did. He's done. And he was also assisting Bashiya in her other work. Bashiya is a very special woman. She came originally from the Ubanda Candomblé tradition. That is a tradition. These traditions were popped up in Brazil with a strong relation to Africa. There were the slaves from Africa. They developed a new traditional religion in Brazil, but mixed with Brazilian influences, with indigenous influences, Brazilian, but with also with big foot in African traditions. So Bashiya came from this tradition. And then she met the Santo Daime, and she also came in the Santo Daime tradition. And that at a certain moment, she was also the one who was responsible for bringing these traditions together. And that means in the Umbanda works, drinking Daime. So, and that was a new development also. But what Bashiya also developed, was a kind of more therapeutic approach. They called it workshops. She developed this together with Jonathan Goldman, that was a therapist from the United States, and he's the leader of a big church in Oregon. And they work together to do this therapeutic approach in these workshops. They also drink the daime or the ayahuasca. And they have a kind of a special approach to that. So then, how you say? And Norberto was often invited by them to assist them in the work. So Bashiya did the work, and Jonathan Goldman was doing a part of the work, and Norberto was assisting them. And along the way, he learned more skills also to work in this. From my part, Norberto was musician in the church. Was invited to come to help the church, and he was the musician there, and very skilled, very good musician. So we became friends. And the first time I went to Brazil, he received us at the airport, and we stayed at his mother's house, and yeah, we became really good friends. But then some years later, I was invited by someone from Brazil who was leading another branch of the Santo Daime tradition. And he invited me if I would like to start Santo Daime Church from his branch, in his line. And it took me 1 year to make this decision, because I thought, okay, yeah, it was probably one of the most interesting questions asked to me. So I was in one way kind of shocked, and one way honored, and brought me in a whole kind of process from if I should do it or not. Long story short, in 1 year later, I made the final decision. I went to a lot of thoughts why I should do it or not do it, blah, blah, blah. So I called him and invited him to come to the Netherlands with his wife, and then to start to do a first opening ceremony. And was very big. We had 2 ceremonies on Saturday. We had 150 people. On Sunday we had 160 people. It was huge. Where people from all over Europe, even United States, people came to how you say, to celebrate this opening. But then I was expected to continue with this kind of work. And that was another story, I have to say. Because one, I'm not musical skilled. I had this idea to create from the hymns to put it in software and create a kind of London Harmonic Orchestra experience music for the hymns, so I could solve my lack of musical skills. But some musicians explained me, that's not really gonna work because the music should be really working together with the singing. Probably nowadays with the AI, new development of AI, it will work better or easier to. So I will look into this again. um, but this was one part. Another part was that the people who are attracted to come to me were the dropouts of the other communities, or the kick-outs of the dropouts. So I had a quite of problematic people around me. Some, not all of them, but some. So that was also not easy to handle. At the same time, in combination with ayahuasca, with drinking daime, that's sometimes it amplified certain behaviors. And at the same time, I felt I was watched over. I was watched by the one who invited me. I was watched by the other Santo Daime churches. I was watched by the headquarter in Mapia in Brazil, because I heard that, and that was not a kind of paranoia, but I knew they were watching me. So I had sometimes this feedback or these questions. So I felt really I felt not free at all. And what I was needing was a really good, skilled musician. But Norberto said to me, Rini, I love you, but no, I don't gonna take part of this, because this is political, very, very tricky area. So I have a very good connection with all people in the Santo Daime. I know when I step into this, I get it will bring me in a difficult position. So do what you want and you respect. But I have some other ideas also. So, and he shared a bit about his experience with Bashiya, what he learned, his therapeutic skills. So maybe we can develop something along this line, and then I'm open to. So, both our lives were a bit complicated. He has young children, and I have also things around. So it took probably, it took us literally 3 years to come to the moment where where we could do our first tryout ceremony. And we did a lot of preparation and a lot of talking through and a lot of things. And so, because I had the church, I had an official church registered, I had the ayahuasca, I had the daime, and I had the network. And Norberto had the skills and the knowledge and the ideas and the music and this Brazilian, yes. So, and that brought us together. And then we had this first ceremony we had as a tryout, and it was bingo. It was really yes. So, and it was one night. We started at 8 o'clock in the evening until 8 o'clock in the morning. And it is how we work now. It's completely different. Or it's in a way very different, but in the core, it's the same. That we have a kind of, it's not therapy, but we have some therapeutic elements in it. And the effect of the work can be very therapeutic, but we avoid ourselves to that it's not therapy. But yeah, it can have a therapeutic effect on people. So we changed a lot along the way, but in the core, it's like this. We drinking, we have this safe container, and there's all this part. I learned a lot from him. And one of the main things I think I learned from him is the humbleness. The humbleness, he was really humble to and not so much to the tradition of the Santorini, but humble to the experience of the ayahuasca, and humble to the people, to the group, that we should never think we know better. That if for a small example, if someone asks me, should I drink more or not, I won't tell somebody. So this is a way of no. It's I help a person to connect with their inner self, so that they will give the answer to me. But I won't tell if someone to drink more or not or whatever. That's in a way, and he has this really overall humbleness on all kind of aspects, and that was one of the things I really honor him for, and among many other things. But this, if you ask me, there's one big thing that is there, and that's also from Basinha. That he Basinha was really someone really high praised in Brazil. Also very humble, very down to earth, and she was his mother. It's not his how you say, birth mother, but his spiritual mother, and he had a lot of her approach. He embodied a lot of her. I don't know if that's really an answer to your question, but it's.
Yeah, thank you. I like it a lot. I have a tendency, if I don't watch out, to be arrogant myself. I don't say that's you, but that's me, which is kind of a shadow side of a deeper minority complex that is sometimes active. So I really like the feeling of being able to be humble, because that's for me a very healthy place. So yeah, I really like that somebody else connects with that too. Yeah, thank you. I'm also wondering where to go. One question that I have and still have is, yeah, again, decades of drinking ayahuasca. I haven't drunk that in a long time, but I can't imagine I will never drink it again. I'm terrified of it. That won't stop me in the end, but it'll take something for me to go again. By the way, I just want to say one thing, that I think 4 years ago, I was doing a 10-minute meditation. This is a bit random, but just to make a kind of a point. So this was like 6 years after the last time I drank ayahuasca, but for some reason I sank really deeply into a meditation, which is nice, efficient. But also, somehow there was this unmistakable voice of ayahuasca saying something like, "I'm still here." I found that so beautiful. I just want to name it. I'm touched, and all the time I'm listening to you, I'm touched. And it does bring me to a question I have for you, which is, I first wanted to ask you, are you still afraid? But I also want to ask you maybe both. So are you still afraid sometimes? And also, how do you prepare and how do you integrate? Do you have imagine you have your whole way with it. Could you share a bit about this fear and preparation?
To be honest, I don't drink that much anymore. I drank a lot in the early days, and I drank along with the Santorini a lot, and sometimes I drink when Norberto was still around. I could drink sometimes a bit more, but that's actually not so much what I'm doing again. And a fear, yes, I think when I have a big cup in front of me and I have to drink it, yes, I think there is some fear there. I can really imagine there's some fear. Okay, where this gonna bring me? So I'm maybe not the perfect example of how do this really proper, and because I have a quite different relation now with ayahuasca. I feel more in serve of not only the ayahuasca but also the group and the people who drink it. And if you want to do it really optimal, it is one thing what is really important to give time. afterwards. Because for me, also always in my busy life, drinking and after drinking, going directly in the life rhythm, the life mode again. That's maybe not the best way to drink ayahuasca. So best if at least you have a day afterwards to integrate. And what we suggest a lot of time, we give along the years we learned more and more about the importance of integration and the time after and the aftercare. So what we and integration starts also already before, so you can make kind of plans before. Um, if you gonna drink ayahuasca, it's really nice that you prepare your home when you arrive home already. That it is really a nice place to arrive in when you come back. It's also nice that you have time and space, that you don't directly have to go in other things or meetings or your work or whatever. Again, that really helps. If you can spend time in nature, that's really nice. If you can go day after in nature. We invite a lot of people. We invite people often, or really invite people to make notes during the ceremony, and not really already to make sense of it. Just if something comes up, put it there. Don't think of it. Just drop it there, and afterwards you can see what you can do with it. Also, what really helps is every day after the ceremony, of after the workshop, make some time to connect. Can be that you make a little altar or a little place, or when you take your notes, that you really go back to ceremony. What really helps is the music. We nowadays share all the music we played in the ceremony. So we share this with the people so they can pick their own favorites or connect to a certain moment in the ceremony. What's really helpful. And that's what we hear. That's the most helpful for a lot of people to really reconnect. We always say, don't put the music on while you're driving a car. So you never know that it can trigger something. So and if you keep doing this practice, you can do it for months or whatever, how long, and then you keep the ceremony or the experience still alive, and you can still tap from this source with or without your notes or with inner knowledge or inner connection, whatever comes up. So what we always say, what happens here, the ceremony or the workshop, is secondary. It's all about your life. That's your life there. So you have to live your life in the outer world. So don't make the ceremony the main thing. No, it's your life is the main thing. The ceremony is something. Yeah, it can be a seed, can be whatever. It can that or something, a source to tap from in your life, but really make your life the main thing. So, and this kind of integration tools can be really helpful for that. And in the preparation, you can already, rethink through this part of after the ceremony, that you not land home and, oh, what now? And connect with people from the ceremony, people who were in your ceremony. So we created also a private social network where for each workshop we have a dedicated space. It's not always used by people, but it's there. So in the beginning it's active and slowly it fades out. What we offer nowadays also is integration events online. So every person who ever been to our ceremony or workshop can go there, can book a spot there and connect to other people. That's really helpful. What we heard for that, there are some people who come from. We have people from all over the world, and someone comes from India, and they have not any people in their environment to talk about psychedelics, and it can be hard to land. So you come from this very strong, intense experience, and then you come home, you still have this afterglow, but after a few days, this afterglow, this ayahuasca effect, the chemical Hartman effect is also fade out, and then real life is kicking in again. So we offer tools and connections for that. So that's in a way can be really helpful. That's different. In the Santo Daime tradition is much different. There often people live in the same village or very close to each other, so they connect more easy with their fellow travelers. But in our workshops, it's a different story.
Yeah, thank you. I like that people that listening can also really take that as kind of a good preparation or integration advice, and also really like this kind of framing of the work is maybe it's one thing, but it's really your life that is the real thing, or like very important to pay attention to. And touching upon what you said about kind of coming home, I want to share an experience and I want to ask a question about it because it's a bit of a mixed thing. So I guess I'll just give you a bit of a story and then see how you can reflect on it, because there are a few aspects around it. I have had an experience when I came home from one ayahuasca ceremony and I was home, and there was just this clearly palpable negative energy. I wasn't exactly scared, but it was just a negative energy. And I asked my friend Parikshit, who was also there, who was in the ceremony. And I was just on the phone with him, and he said, "Hey, how are you doing?" Yeah, I said, "I'm doing all right. I just have this negative. There's just something negative in my house here, like almost like an entity." And he said, "Well, remember the mala that I gave you?" So he had given me a mala, and kind of in exchange for me giving him my sweater. And he said, "Yeah, put it on." All right, I put it on, and that feeling was gone, like like that. So malas are quite powerful in the Hindu traditions. They are seen as very powerful, and so I guess one question I want to ask is about protection. I'm also learning. I've learned some Buddhist tantra, some Tibetan Buddhist stuff. And one aspect of that work is about protector deities. So you can invoke protector deities. I like that. It feels nice to invoke, whatever deity works for you. And a last piece of the puzzle of the question is something in the Santo Daime Church that I remember they did in kind of their, let's say their invocation and their setting of the setting was also, we command evil to stay out or something like that. And I remember thinking in the moment, that sounds a bit judgmental, because if everything is divine, why would we stamp something as evil? But that was my critical mind thinking, and what do I know? But so my question is, I guess, with all this kind of in place, how do you relate to evil?
Recently, when someone was asking about how do you deal with this part or this negative or actually, to be honest, it's not in our belief system, or not in my belief system, and I think in most of our team members' belief system. So we don't experience this in that way. And I think maybe the way we work, we don't have this. I know this what you shared with me. This kind of opening prayer for the concentration work, the concentração. It's different phrased. I can look up for you how it's phrased, but it's a bit different phrased. But we also don't use that. We have what we have. We have our the container of our work is we call it the Mensagem da Cabocla Tupinambá. So every work starts with Mensagem, and some call it a prayer. You can call it a message. These words, and it's called life, health, happiness, open path, and that feels for us as a container, and it's a safe container to frame how we start to work and how we close the work. And we never had this kind of feeling that in our work was invoked by bad entities or bad spirits. Of course, sometimes things happen, but we won't call it bad entities or bad spirits. That is really how we look to this, how we approach this work. we also work. Sometimes we have this Umbanda kind of works where they work with the deities, and that's our how you say. Um, um, Also, how the people we work with frame this. This is a kind of how you say. Um, how you say this word? Um, Archetypes. And that are a lot of also inner parts of ourselves. And the interesting is that last year we start working with IFS, internal family systems, in combination with ayahuasca, with Daime. And there's a lot of similarities with this Umbanda tradition, with the different deities related to this protector and the firefighter. And that it's more about inner parts of ourselves and not so much about spirits that enter here, or that we have to clean the room for this or work with this. No, I respect if other people work in this way with spirits or entities or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not expert in that, but it's not in our belief system. So for us, we also don't experience it. So for us, it feels it's an easy answer, but that is how we see it and how we work it. And so
I actually love that answer. I myself also, as you know, I think you know, I do some coaching work which also has IFS built into that. And I can also share another experience which speaks to that. And I really, from the offset, I really like that frame of, because it is ultimately a very welcoming frame. And I think one example to illustrate that is that I remember another moment in a ceremony, which was also that same one where all the beautiful fires were, of which I was in charge, by the way. I was the fire person in that ceremony. But I had, for some reason, been extremely brave and asked for a big cup, which I otherwise never did. But I did. I did that, and it was super, super difficult. And I just felt this really dark, satanic, horrible black entity coming into the room. And I remember that one person, I won't name her just to be sure, but one of the lovely assistants was there, and she was even a little bit freaked out by what was going on with me. And I was like, "Give me water, I want to vomit." And ultimately, I did vomit. And what I vomited out was my own judgment about something I was very afraid of that I really judged, which in retrospect wasn't. I do want to keep it private because, you know, I have my limits, but it wasn't actually, it was quite innocent ultimately, but I found it very shameful and embarrassing, and I was afraid about it. But that was the thing. It was probably my own fear of something in me that I judged. And then, of course, in this super, how do you call, suggestible space, it became a demon because I didn't want to look at it. So I super resonate with that as well. So yeah, and I love that you have started to work with IFS inside as part of the ceremony. That's really, really awesome. And that's for me a super powerful direction. I have a few more questions, and I guess one major question is, you know, ayahuasca in the West. So ayahuasca is Amazonian. Some of the work, as you said, has been also influenced by African roots. And now it's of course, there's a very westernized version. And I'm curious if I would kind of, formulate a question to kind of try to get an answer is, how is it going with the integration of this work in the West? And what are maybe challenges that you see in the next decade? Can you speak to that at all?
How to answer this? Yeah, one of the challenges, of course, is there is 0.02% DMT in most of the ayahuascas, and not all ayahuasca. The original ayahuasca is just fine, only fine, and that there's no DMT in this, so that's perfectly legal to work with. But DMT is in a lot of ayahuasca types. There is 0.02% on average, but there's some more, some less. But this is the numbers I know from some research, and that is for a lot of governments. They use this as a reason to put limits on the use of ayahuasca, to make it official forbidden. So that is one of the challenges. So interesting enough, very recently there is some research popping up of the healing effect of DMT, of DMT specifically, not the ayahuasca, but the DMT on strokes. So in the neuroplasticity that can work around this. So that will make DMT a bit more accepted when it can used as a like this quite important medication. So this part of is a challenging part. Another part is that also there should be a kind of recognition and appreciation and reciprocity for the indigenous traditions. In our way, we find it, how you say, because we have an in-between connection to this. We have the strongest connection to the Santo Daime, and also our ayahuasca daime comes from the Santo Daime tradition, from really sincere, very high quality sources. It's made, but originally they also got it from indigenous tradition. So, and I know there are quite some talks about this, especially by Shakruna, and Bialabat is a very a strong voice in this, that we should take care for these indigenous traditions in a way to also honor this part. So this is an important thing. What is also a big question is we see nowadays that psychedelics get more and more accepted, and there is no doubt that it will get an important part of our health system in the West, and that's growing everywhere. The evidence is growing everywhere. It's no question about this. Only there is a kind of how you say, official fear also from this healthcare system, what's focused on psychedelics, that as soon as it becomes more and more legal, that there will come a flood of people who are interested or willing to work with this psychedelics or with ayahuasca or with psilocybin or whatever with, and that it's very difficult to handle because it's too much to handle. Because when you have in the therapeutic setting, you have the preparation part, then you have the ceremonial part. Ceremonial, it's not it's therapeutic session, and that will be with always two therapists and one client, and they sit there for 8 hours, and then you have this integration part. So if each participant or each client or each patient needs this kind of care, that's not possible to deliver. If you see how stressed the healthcare system is nowadays. So I was part of a group where they also with a lot of scientists where they explore the ceremonial work, the setting of ceremonial work, to get a kind of legitimatization, that we can a kind of way improvement to work in this way, because it can be done very safe, and even like in the group setting, it's even sometimes even more how you say, beneficial for people to work with, to have this experience. And it's if you think in healthcare economics, it's much more economical. So you can have at the same time a lot of people in the work of course, you have the preparation and aftercare, but that can be depends of each person. So, but I think there has to be changed quite some things if we can have this kind of work over improvement. But it's something really to take serious. Another thing what I find quite interesting, and I think maybe also really needed, is in United States already they have these groups with ayahuasca and veterans, people who fought in the war in Iraqi or Afghanistan. And of course, we have very soon hope an end of the war here in Europe. And then we have also a lot of people who need this kind of, or can benefit from this kind of care or this work with ayahuasca. But if you, for each person, has to develop this therapeutic approach, it's undoable. So if we can create something for this, or to help create something for this, there's of course there's need a different approach, a different aftercare, but because you work with people with really strong traumas, that is very different than most people will come to our ceremonies. So, but it's something that can be interesting to start. I already start thinking about this, how we can maybe also develop the kind of framework that we also maybe can export to, for example, Ukraine, that people can work there with it, with this framework in a safe and responsible way. Like this. I don't know if this answer to your question exactly, but
yeah. Well, it's a very interesting question. It's a bit about how to reorganize or somehow scale or change the welfare, or what's it called, the healthcare system to accommodate for health to reach people in a safe way, but also effective, because there's clearly so much effectiveness and power in the work. Is this something that you're aware of, that there are congresses already around this, or topics on congresses on how to scale this? Or
so there was, I think, 2 years ago, and it was partly organized by ICPR also, with Joost and André van der Braak, and to explore this set and setting part. And I know there will be follow-ups on this, and exactly the details I don't know. And soon there will be another ICPR in June, I think June 4 and 6. It's a conference where the people from the mostly therapeutic field and the science field connect together. It's, I think, scientifically wise, one of the most important psychedelic conferences on Earth, in the world. So I don't know exactly how far they are with this, but this is exactly came from them. So their talks are on a scientific level there already. So I don't know how far, and it will take some time, and also probably some policy change. But yeah, I think that it in a way becomes a part of our society. It's unavoidable. How you say? Unavoidable. Yes, and one part of what can be, and I don't want to go in this maybe conspiracy idea, but pharmaceutical industry can be a block in this way, because it's touching their economic system. So not sure how this will work out well with them, with their power. And it was interesting. I recently saw a piece. I think it was from Bialabad, that the way that the white people, as it started, I think, in 71 with Nixon, with this law, the war on drugs, and this change law, that they put DMT on the opium list, and that it's actually a way of colonialism. Okay, this is how indigenous people work, and now suddenly, for ages, and now suddenly the white people in charge said, okay, you're not allowed to do this. So there needs some. But I also think, and what really makes me also confident, and what we see experience in our works, it's more and more people from the scientific community, psychologists, neuroscientists, psychiatrists, and facilitators. They come to our work. They experience our work by themselves. Partly, of course, also have their inner process, but also from a professional point of view to experience this. So as long as we get more of these people, also maybe policy people or people who have kind of stronger voice in society, it will become. Because for me, what I feel, there is so much truth. Ayahuasca is so true. There's so much truth in this. So the truth can't escape. It can't put down, and it will be in one or another way, and when we don't know, but in one or another way, it will become part of a more accepted part of our society.
It's just crazy to me to to forbid a plant. And it's just as crazy to shoot rockets to each other, but it's the same kind of people. Without wanting to demonize them, it's also just evolution in their awareness that probably needs to happen. And you mentioned Joost. I am also interviewing him at some point. And I was also thinking about André van der Braak. It could be interesting to actually interview them together.
It's one of his other books, but he also wrote a book about ayahuasca.
Zen and Buddhism, or Buddhism and Zen. Anyway, one of his books. Yeah. Yeah, that I didn't read, but that's interesting. I guess there is so much more I want to ask you, but I also want to go towards actually cleaning the kitchen and picking up my girl, because she's a bit dysregulated today and I want to pick her up. But I do want to ask you, what is ayahuasca?
It's one way. It's a brew, and the basic ayahuasca is a brew just made from vines. And there are more types of ayahuasca. Sometimes people say, "Oh, it's so magical that these two plants from a different part of the Amazon came together and to create this." It's not that magic, in a way, because there was already this basic ayahuasca, this vine, and how you say and then along the years, or along the centuries, they just tried, okay, what happens when you add this to the ayahuasca? What happens when you add this? And with certain combinations, you had this kind of, wow, this is a complete different experience. So there are countless types of ayahuasca or components that used to make an ayahuasca. The shamans, they work even with Brugmansia, with the Datura, or shamans to work with this type and this type. In the Santo Daime tradition, the daime, the most daime is the most of all the daime is made from two plants. The Banisteriopsis capi, the vine, and the chacruna, the Psychotria viridis, and these are always the plants. But what we also experience that in Brazil, Brazil is a huge country, and we had contact with many churches there, and in the early years, we could get daimi from that church and from that church and from that church. Every experience is a huge difference. Even these two plants, the same plants, but from the Bannistripse escape, you have I'm not sure. Maybe how you say a plant specialist will put on this, but it's more than 60 subtypes. And also the chacruna, you have different strengths and varieties. So along the years, we found two exceptional good qualities of ayahuasca, daimi. It's from the daimi tradition. In our work, we have to call it ayahuasca. When we have a daimi work, we can call it daimi. And so this is one part. That is the drink. And even this drink is so much different in it. And it has to do mainly with the vines, that there are different varieties of alkaloids in it. The harmines, harmaline, tetraharmine. And especially the vines from deep in the rainforest, the old vines have quite high quality of alkaloids in it. And also the way how they prepare, there's also some difference in that. But ayahuasca is also a universe. It's a culture. It's a complete subculture or culture from all the people who drink ayahuasca over the world. In a way, they are connected, so this is also a part of ayahuasca. And also then you have the ceremonial part, how it's used, the ayahuasca. It's so many aspects on this ayahuasca. It's not just the plants and the vines or just that. There was this. There's also in this ayahuasca communities a lot of discussion about mother ayahuasca, grandmother ayahuasca. Some say no, it's a father, or it's a grandfather. And in the daimi tradition, you have this. No, chacruna is the female tradition. There's the female part, and the vines is the male part. We have also this in the vicio where you prepare. Actually, the women touch the leaves. They pick the leaves and are not allowed to take part in the vine ceremony, in the batisao, because that's for men. Of course, there are churches they experimenting with this, or they have this see it a bit different. But originally, it's like this really division. And there are people who say there's also this gender discussion in the ayahuasca world. No, ayahuasca has no gender. No. This is completely genderless. So how we explain it in our ceremonies, that please consider it very personal. If you feel it's a mother energy, it's your mother. And if you feel it's a father, it's a man or a grandfather or a grandmother, yeah, please work with that. And if it changes every day, feel free, right? So we consider it's like this, and when you drink, are you strong in the ayahuasca? You definitely feel there is a kind of energy inside that you maybe difficult to give an other name than God. that you feel so connected to with all what is. And there's this scientific explanation that there's part of the brain that is where your ego is present, that really gets suppressed. So this ego things disappears. So then you get this all spread awareness of I'm connected to all. And this connected to all, you can label it as a God-like energy. So, but I wouldn't call it from, if you drink it, you become part of God, or you are part of God, or it's God. No, I really prefer, it's your experience. You drink it, how you feel and how you experience. It's yours. So feel free. And we hope you don't feel it. It feels like the devil. So that is one part. But we don't tell. But this is also, I don't think this part. But if you ask me now, no,
Yeah.
And it's no, we don't see this dark energies a lot in the work. Very, very seldom.
Yeah, thank you. I really like that kind of agnostic approach, but also open. It's kind of, don't make any conclusions. It definitely feels divine, but that's one thing, but then labeling it or preaching about it is another thing. So I really appreciate that. I want to go towards the end, even though it doesn't feel like it. There's so much more, but I like that. It's better than the opposite. And I just want to give you the mic. Maybe where can people reach you? What would you like people to know? The mic is yours.
If you think about ayahuasca, inform yourself. And I never will tell anybody, or although I'm very enthusiastic about it, I won't preach about it that you or everybody should drink it. That was in the beginning when I started drinking ayahuasca. I thought, wow, everybody should drink this. But along I very soon I realized and I experienced and I saw, no, this is not for everybody. It's really, really important that it's really a personal decision that whoever wants to drink really feel that is, yes, I want to drink ayahuasca. Yeah, and one thing that's very often two big decisions. One is that people make the decision, okay, I want to explore ayahuasca, I want to drink ayahuasca, but even as big is the decision where to drink. Because it's really something. You surrender yourself in a way to somebody. You have to trust completely. So if people want to explore ayahuasca, if you feel completely open and ready for it, you're connected to, you want to do this, then educate yourself. And educate yourself can be done at ayahuasca.nexus. That is a really, in my opinion, a down-to-earth website about all kind of aspects of ayahuasca. Connected to that, there's also a score app and an assessment tool where you can explore different parts if ayahuasca is the right thing for you or it's the right time to explore ayahuasca. And if not, you will get some feedback if that's the right thing for you. So, but I want really to emphasize, I don't want to convince everybody or to tell anyone you should drink ayahuasca. No, please. That is be really present with yourself if this is the right thing for you or not. So it's we had this in our works that people came out of the work and I think 95 to 99% of people often are in awe from, okay, wow, what is this? And especially in the beginning and then they had this tendency to how you say to preach around and to tell people, oh, this is so amazing. No, please don't. We really emphasize people to please don't do this. And you can share your personal experience, but never convince somebody to come to drink, because we had this experience that people were convinced, and sometimes it went well, but a few times it didn't well. It didn't went so well that people really got even more troubled. It broke some friendships that people blamed the other that they brought them. We had some serious aftercare with people that to get them whole again. Sometimes we have to send people to a therapist or approach a therapist to help people to become whole again. So it's really it can be fantastic. I experienced it fantastic, and if you can get a relation with ayahuasca, it's really rich and it's can be really amazing, but it's not for everybody. And for some people really shouldn't drink ayahuasca. We have serious medical assessment for that. There is this in the ayahuasca nexus. There is this a different kind of assessment, the kind of readiness assessment. But also, people with depression can drink ayahuasca, but we always tell people contain it in a therapeutic session. Contact the therapist before. You can come to the ceremony, have a contact with the therapist afterwards. So you contain it in a safe way. And there are all kind of how you say. There are all kind of situations where people shouldn't drink ayahuasca with medication and whatever, with people with a history of epilepsy. But we have this all covered in our, the list of medical assessment became longer along the years because we learned along the years. And sometimes we get a complaint that's too long, but if you're not able to fill in this assessment, maybe you're not ready for ayahuasca yet. So, and that's what I want to say. And it's and also people can if people look for a more shamanic, authentic experience or want to drink in the rainforest in Peru or in Peru in a shamanic setting, that's not our approach. We're more neo-shamanic, Western, with Santo Daime influences and sometimes real, sincere Santo Daime works. Also Umbanda works where we drink the Daime, the ayahuasca. That's it. This is more our line. And we're more related to that, to the Brazilian line, not to the shamanic line. And also, one thing I want to say that people have this romantic idea of drinking ayahuasca in the rainforest. I drank quite sometimes in the rainforest. It's romantic in a way, but it's also very disturbing to be full on ayahuasca and then the mosquitoes coming in your ears or beating here and there. Or you have to walk in the dark to some hole in the ground where is a toilet, or in the forest, and be aware if there are no snakes around. It is a kind of way romantic, but what we now always say, ayahuasca can already be uncomfortable enough. So what we try to do to make everything around this discomfort as comfortable and safe as possible. So for us, we always say safety is our highest priority. Freedom is our second priority, and and when these two are not in conflict with each other, a lot is possible.
Yeah, I hear that. I want to thank you a lot, Rini, for coming. It was an enormous joy and but also educational and an honor to be your first podcast.
Also, thank you for this effortless experience. To say the most effort was to set up my computer and be aware that that I'm not get disturbed in the room here and that I'm here. That was the most effort, but for the rest, it was very easy. And thank you for your trust, and thank you for welcoming. And and whoever gonna drink ayahuasca and wherever you're gonna drink, be safe.